welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I am Laura Sheffield.
And I'm Wendy Snow.
If you are just joining us, we thank you. This is our new show. It's still kind of new, but Mama Bears on Purpose, where we want to teach you how to live purposeful lives right where you are. You know, you do have to change things, yes, but it's possible. And you are fully capable of doing those things that God designed you to do in your everyday life, to live a life that is holy and pleasing to Him. That is our main goal. So today, we pray and hope anybody would be blessed by this show. Moms and dads, yes, but aunts, uncles, just to know that this next generation coming up behind us is important. It really is. Each generation is important. But our pastor gave a staggering statistic or even just comment, and it's been haunting me since. But he just said, imagine all of the lives that would have changed this world and this country with the 60 million babies that have been aborted. Like, imagine the plans that God had for those babies, that they could have changed families, changed cities, changed states, countries. Like, we just don't know what kind of leaders they would have been, what kind of friends they would have been, what kind of bosses they would have been. We just don't know. And so with who is entrusted in your care, we want to talk to you today about connecting with them. Connecting with them at any stage, from 0 to adulthood, and what that looks like. Now, if this is something that you have not considered, please sit down, grab a cup of coffee, or if you're driving, sit back, relax, and pray that you can learn something today, because these are things along the years that we have prayed about, that we have refined, that both of us have connected with other people and poured into their lives about how to do those things. And then we are not telling you anything today that we are not trying to implement ourselves. Mm-hmm. We're not trying to be perfect parents. There is no perfect parent. God is the perfect parent. But God created families. And God created families for a reason. And I'll talk about this a tiny bit more at the end. And a family is a reflection of part of even God's heart. For relationships to work together, for us to teach our kids how to serve one another, love one another, pray for one another, hang out with one another, for kids to have a example of parents and how they honor each other, and for kids to learn the 10 Commandment of honor your mother and father. And by doing that, you're honoring a type of authority that they would be honoring their teachers, honoring their boss later in life. It's all a picture on purpose of how God designed families to be.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to start with just thinking about, the little stages. Where do we go? So you brought that baby home. You got that new little one now. Start with prayer.
Yes.
Let's start with prayer. And James chapter 1, verse 5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. So start out with prayer. Lord,
Yes.
Give me wisdom. Give me exactly what I need for this day, for this season of parenting. And in the little years, that is going to look like a lot of care.
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of just the changing diapers, the feeding, and all of that. But that doesn't mean that you can't, play and enjoy your child.
I don't know about you, but I remember with Sebastian, we ended up being parents a little sooner than we thought. We were excited, but at the hospital, our nurses were so kind. They were so attentive, and they would tell me, like, change him, feed him. They would say those things. You're only there for like a day now. They don't keep you forever. But Matt was like, maybe we could just stay. Like, he thought we could stay because they were so helpful and kind.
Yeah.
We were super blessed to come home and have his mom live right up the street. My mom, we just talked about this the other day, that she was so kind. She did not drive that freeway where they live below us in Rancho. We live up here in the desert until we had our son on her own. But she came and made dinner and stayed for 3 days. Like, each day she'd stay and help me and make dinner that night. So kind and so nice. So even just having that support is huge. Mm-hmm. But I remember praying and like telling God when we came home, I need your help. I don't know what to do. And then when my mom left, I really felt like I needed help.
Yeah. Yeah. You always feel like that. Well, I mean, some people have it to a greater degree than other people,
Yes.
To where, oh, what have I gotten myself into? But just that little time, just having that child just resting on you. I
Yes.
love having a sleeping baby on me,
I know.
Even now when my
I've
kids
still
are
seen
big.
you with sleeping babies that
Yeah.
are friends' kids.
Oh, so sweet, so sweet. But cuddle and read.
Yes.
Cuddle and read with them. Start making that a regular habit in your life, and that'll turn into other things as they get older.
Yeah, and I wanted to say this in the beginning, but I didn't. I just forgot. I wonder if you think it's possible to have a thriving relationship with your child at any stage. A lot of people are on survival mode, and it's like their house is like a train station. No matter what, whether they have babies or teenagers or toddlers or elementary kids, it's not thriving relationships in the way they may have pictured it, like before you picture getting married or having a family. And so stop while you're listening to this today and reflect on what could be done differently in your home, because it is possible to have those thriving relationships on how God connected it. And it starts, like Wendy said, from the very beginning. From the very beginning. Pray about how to implement that at each stage and age. I cannot tell you how many people I've talked to throughout the years that it may have been differently when they're gone. It may have been differently now, like their kids are adults or they're teenagers, if these certain things would have been implemented when their kids were little. If that connecting time would have been made, if maybe they didn't work such crazy hours, or even if they would have worked and they had to work, they would have done something differently on the weekends instead of gone so much, whether it's travel sports or just their own time, because they thought, well, I work, I'm going to go to the bars. I'm going to go wherever. And so kids don't feel like they're a priority. Kids aren't taught certain things because the family isn't functioning in the way that God designed it.
Right.
So know it's not too late if your kids are older, but also know if your kids are younger, start now.
Right.
Some people don't know when to start certain things, or they might feel kind of lost, or it might seem like, okay, my kid's this certain age or only a couple months old. Like, why does it matter? If I look them in the eye or if I talk to them. All of it matters.
All of it matters.
All of it matters. The reading is huge.
Yes.
And establishing that routine. We read every day when my kids were little, and Sebastian really only stopped reading with us besides reading the Bible every night when he started just having later baseball practices at night, so he'd drive his own self, and he got a job at Chick-fil-A. That was almost like 18 years of him reading with us, and it would be different things, like a book on a missionary or a biography, just different things, not always like a kid's book, but I'd find an article that had to do with like a family that went on like a crazy mission trip or a true story of something, where it was just that connecting time. But when they're little, I just think it's so easy, and not easy to be a parent, but that connecting. Like, especially when you set that aside, like that they could do sidewalk chalk, they could do bubbles, they could, you have a regular time of going on walks, their bath time, things they might like to do. Do they like to go on the swings? Certain toys, teach them to pick up their toys.
Yes.
Teach them as they start getting a little older. You can get a footstool. They help you do some of your chores, put away the silverware, put their clothes in their drawers. When you look them in the eye and talk to them, I think they become better talkers and communicators.
Right.
Because you're always teaching them.
Right.
I would get made fun of a little, that they were like, oh, you're doing like school with your kids all the time. You're always trying to teach them something or talk to them. And I thought, well, yeah.
Isn't that what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah, it was part of my job.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, I also had the realization when one of my pastors had said that he would come home and see his wife on the floor playing with with their kids, and the house was just a wreck. But it put a warmth in him that she would not care about how the house looked and care more about what the kids were learning from her, and just that having that connection. She wouldn't do it all the time.
Yes.
It wouldn't be, but there would be occasions where he'd come home and, oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Nothing got done today except this huge thing of connecting with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are times when we think, oh my gosh, okay, the baby's asleep. I got to get this, this, and this.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Not necessarily. Or, you know what, they're occupied. Let me go do this. That's not always the case. That doesn't always have to be the case. You can include yourself in it. Like she said, like Laura said, include them in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Include them in putting dishes away. Include them in folding laundry.
I'm a weirdo.
It's not going to be perfect.
Know me, I like little things. So when it came out that Tupperware had the cutest like little cups and pitchers, if I've had ladies over to pray or I was cooking and doing stuff, Sage would set it up like for the kids with her own little like set, and then she had her own little broom with a dustpan. The boys didn't think that some of that stuff was so cute, but I would still make them do it, and they all just loved it. Like, loved it. She had her own little ironing board and would do that. It was so cute. So it wasn't such a burden for me to be having to get certain things done. And that would happen the same thing. I'd be on the floor doing blocks or Legos with Sebastian, and Matt would come home, and I was like, oh gosh, he didn't think I'd do anything all day. But I would adjust things. You adjust when you have them start helping and they're not so tiny. And then I'd also kind of start to know when he'd come home, and I'd make it fun for the kids. I'd be like, it's going to be a daddy parade. Yeah. And so they'd help kind of pick things up because he liked it to look, more in order, and that's fine. But what does that look like? Are you just like, oh my gosh, like yelling at them and chaotic? Because it's a mess.
Is that going to help?
No, and it's not going to help anyone. It's not going to teach them.
Right.
That we have a peace that should rule in our home, starting from when they're little. All right, elementary age. Such a fun age, I think. Someone asked Matt and I the other night, we went on a double date with some good friends, and they have a baby, and I think we were just talking about favorite age. I don't think that I have a favorite, but I think around 8 or 9, like that's why there's a teacher that we know that had all 3 of our kids for 4th grade. He likes that age, 4th grade, because they are not so like into the culture and what the culture says. They don't care so much. They still like to be around their parents and get so excited about family plans, not so argumentative. Yeah, you'll catch them in things where they're not acting perfect or great. But it's such a crucial age. Like it really is. And so if your kids are this age or you have some kids this age, embrace it. Like really like embrace it. Like I said, as your kids grow, they will have different interests, preferences, opinions, yes. But at the age of elementary, maybe a little before 6th grade, they still want to know what you think about everything. And one thing we didn't say even about the baby age is still read to them the Bible every night. Still pray over them. But at this age, elementary age, I started teaching my kids about 5 or 6, maybe 6, to have, I called it quiet time. And the coolest thing to me is that they still say it, all 3, in different capacities. Like I was able to text my son, he's on a little trip with my parents, you've been doing your quiet time. And he knows what that means. But it's because it was implemented around 6. Do 6-year-olds just sit there and have long conversations with God and read chapters at a time of the Bible? No. But I would set a timer and say they couldn't come out of their rooms until they, at least read, put on a worship song, and they had a little prayer journal. And that was implemented at that age. And then another thing about elementary age is they are pretty innocent. They just are. And so there's a lot of different things you can do to connect with them, but you're also getting to know what they like to do. And it could even just be, you're teaching them to play Monopoly. Matt taught Sebastian how to play Monopoly in 2nd grade. And then they had a Monopoly club at the elementary school. So it was pretty cool because he was the youngest one in the club. So I think parents sometimes think that their kids are too young to teach them these certain things or to involve them in what they like to do. Matt loved Monopoly. He played with other teachers he worked with, and then he decided to teach Sebastian, and Sebastian loved it, and Sebastian still loves it. And that started in 2nd grade. And so thinking that, okay, I can teach them those things, or the structure, I think around that age too, where they do crave it, that you're teaching them, okay, these certain things need to be done before bed, so they're learning that. They might have different friends. I can't tell you how many elementary parents I talk to, and they don't know their kids' friends. I don't think it matters whether you work or don't work. You should know who your kids hang out with. So can you take the kid's friend to yogurt or to ice cream and get to know the parent? Because it should be that your kids aren't just going somewhere without you knowing that family. And so those are important things for elementary age, especially if your kids are not homeschooled and they're in school. That's 30 other kids that they're in a class with. And then at recess, more kids that they're exposed to all these kids and all these families that you don't know what those families watch or listen to. And
or allow.
Yes, or allow. So at that age, you are an advocate for your child. You are the one that they want to take your opinion more seriously than any of those kids at school. You semi start competing with that at that age, but you want your voice to be stronger.
Yep.
What are your thoughts for that age?
For that age, elementary age, I was thinking of making sure that you listen to their requests and say yes to them as often as you can. Like, will you sing to me? You know, as you're tucking them in, will you sing me a song? You tuck me in. Can we go get ice cream? Like, like what's the big deal? What's it gonna change?
Juice it up, you know,
Except connecting you. What is what's it gonna change now? It's gonna show your kids that you care about spending time with them.
Yeah, gonna build.
Yeah, and if you make that a habit of making their requests important to you, they will also feel like their requests are important to God.
Yes.
So when,
oh my gosh.
when you start that foundation, they start to see how that builds into their relationship with Christ. So those little requests are just little pieces that
I remember, when COVID happened, my youngest was middle of 5th grade, and we had started for about like a year and a half, maybe 2 years, a game night. Either like Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. We'd pick a night that worked that we knew we were going to be home. Well, I don't know if different stuff had happened before COVID, or if it was like sports or different things, or it just wasn't planned. But sometime before COVID, my youngest, Silas at the time, so 5th grade, and he was like, and we had been somewhere where we had seen another parent that we used to do like sports stuff with and see a lot. But in front of this parent, he had said, "Mom, when is it going to be our next game night?" And I thought it was cute because we hadn't quite planned it consistently for a while. Well, then that other kid heard, and his mom was right there, and he was like, "We should do a game night." And so, she had told me that they did. And I thought, man, something that we might not have thought was such a big deal. Doesn't cost money. We have games. We had let the kids pick different games or had fun snacks that night. And now we still maybe have it consistently once a month. Or if it's that all of us are here, we usually will like have dinner and then play a game, or go outside and play spike ball, play basketball. But stemming from, like Wendy said, what are you building? Are you making it that you're just too exhausted, or you sit on the couch after dinner and just put on the TV? Yeah. You can have movie nights, and it's not bad to watch shows, but that's not always the best way to be connecting, is just on screens. Right. Like, you have to be careful.
Yeah. Also be discerning of what you say no to.
Yes.
Because those things are important when it's on your heart to not allow them to do something. Make sure that they understand, you know what, God is kind of tugging at me to tell you no about that.
Yes.
So, and maybe we'll find out later. Maybe you can explain it right then why the no is important. But let's, letting our yes be yes and our no be no. Let's be solid on those and not be those maybe parents too often.
Oh, yeah.
But, we'll see. we'll see becomes... They start tuning it out.
Yes.
But,
no, I think it's good being consistent, because this is the age where you're teaching them, oh, okay, the reason why you're not able to do that is you didn't follow through on these certain chores, or I asked you to do this, or you had an attitude. You can start seeing that at that age, but you're also teaching them that time management, some of these skills that they'll have forever. They might want to go on the weekend to their tournament, someone's birthday party, something else, and something else. And they can start seeing at this age, well, no, on Sunday we're going to go to church and just be home as a family. So we're going to say no to this birthday party. They could start learning, oh, well, if you want to, play in this tournament, you're going to have to finish your homework before you go, your schoolwork, or whatever it is. They could start learning those things at this age. They could also start learning, like I said, being little, but they'll start watching you. And so if you model how to have a relationship with Jesus, you model how to talk to your husband, you model how to have good, healthy friendships and work out things if there's wrinkles or things going on, they're going to learn how to have those type of things too. This is an age where they're really watching you. The next age we're talking about is too. But at this age, they really love their parents. Some teenagers don't, but you can still have that connecting where you're connecting with your kids at that age.
Yeah, 12 to 15, 18, however far that, junior high and high school. Let's talk junior high and high school. That to be able to connect with them, you don't ever don't ever say no to any of their tough questions or say, I don't know, and just throw up your hands.
Oh, yeah, right?
You're going to have to dig in with those tough questions, Bible, relationships,
Oh, my gosh.
you know,
I can't
God.
even tell you on here some of the questions I've had recently.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah, you will have to dig in, and it's going to be at midnight,
Yeah.
11 o'clock, midnight, when they
Yes.
come up with these
Right.
questions. And okay, you know what? I'm going to write that down.
Yes.
And we'll talk about it in the morning because Mom has to read some stuff before
Yes.
I answer you. And that's okay. That's okay. And that's giving them an answer.
Yes.
It's not the complete answer yet, but say yes to those tough questions and make sure that you are the authority then.
Yes.
Like you said before, you have to be that bigger voice in their life so that
they'll come to you later.
So that they'll come to you
and
later.
it's the building blocks of that hard work, like all through the 0 up until this age. And I just told this to someone yesterday that that's why all of it matters. Like, it really matters, because sometimes in the teenage years you think they don't like you. You think they don't care what you say. You think you're not doing a good job, or you're not a good mom, or you're not a good dad, or whoever. Like, if you're a foster parent, aunt and uncle taking care of the kids, grandparents these days, that you just throw in the towel. Like, they don't care. They don't want to be around me, and you feel like that. And the enemy will really, truly attack Bible-believing, strong Christians in this day and age, because he is trying to dismantle and destroy strong families that are trying to honor the Lord. But then God will plant in your spirit confirmation. And this just happened yesterday. Sage showed me a screenshot of a conversation with a friend that I didn't realize she was pouring into, or even just being that model that God has asked her to be at her age, which is not easy at all, at a Christian school, or just this day and age where she's living. And she wanted to screenshot me and tell me, which was cute, because she was telling my husband about a movie they saw with my parents, but the screenshot to me was about this friend, that the friend had just barely started going to church. And Sage was all proud of them and just said like that she's praying for her. And it was a deposit of all these things we've implemented in her. And she's showing that to other people. And so she could have texted that to anybody.
Right.
And so you will see the hard work that you put in up until this point. But that doesn't mean you're just like this as them being teenagers and you could just like sit back and relax. It's not that at all.
No.
There's more prayer, if not more, than when they're babies or toddlers or elementary age, because they start driving. So that scared me half to death when Sebastian started driving. It was a whole new level of even trusting God.
Yes.
Like, I could barely breathe, and I thought, I'm not that even person that has anxiety. What is wrong with me? Like, it was hard for me to go about and do anything. I was trying to sweep or do school with Silas, and Sebastian takes off in his car, and I thought, oh, it was crazy. So it's a whole new level of trusting God with our kids, trusting him with their walk, trusting him when they're rude to us, and that we don't take things so offensively. When I was a special ed teacher, one of my friends that I loved dearly, I was bawling my eyes out because this one little girl that I had tried with that wanted to like spit in my face and not care and didn't seem like she was learning anything. But this teacher, she said, Q-tip. I was like, Q-tip? What the heck does that mean? Like, I don't have any Q-tips. And she said, quit taking it personally. And she's like, you know what you're doing is God's work. Not a lot of people want to be special ed teachers or pour into these kids. And so I would say that to any teenage parent. Q-tip.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's really good.
And so I think the same thing also, though, with elementary age, but then it just shifts. See what they're interested in. See what they like to eat. See if they want to find out or go, like Sage is into boba. Find a cool, if this is your daughter or her son, cool boba place. Or like Sebastian was super into baseball cards forever. So I remember driving to a card shop in Rancho. He had $4. And we'd drive to a card shop in Victorville because he wanted to see if they had this certain card. And then after, same thing, okay, we'll go to the Habit and get an ice cream cone for $1, But it doesn't always have to cost much. But I can't tell you how many goofy things, not only that I've done, but probably will still continue to do. Because of their interest in different things that our kids might be into that we're just like, oh gosh. But it will be all kinds of things. Wendy and I have talked about this before, but texting verses, having them know we're there. Sometimes I've taken stuff off on purpose because I know when Sebastian first started working at Chick-fil-A, there would only be certain nights he's home. So instead of it being like if Matt might be gone that night or working late, just for him to know one of us was here so that I'm here. Like just being there so they would know. What does that look like for you? Really? And I say you could even be a 5 to 10 minute check-in. I don't go as many places with Sebastian now, but he'll do stuff with our family, with his fiance. But I will check in with him every morning because I'm up before him reading my Bible and getting stuff done. So I'll just ask him, like if I didn't see him the night before, how's it going? Where are you working today? How's your walk with God? And I just call it a 5 to 10 minute check-in. Yeah. But it's still that, like, he knows. And if there's something else, like sometimes if he's come home late from work and he sees me sitting on the couch reading and Matt's gone to bed, I'll ask some of those same questions, but then it might be a little more information than I got last time. Yep. What else do you think? Anything with that?
I turned to Ephesians 6, where it says, "Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord." And the exasperation comes when, like, you can't give them that answer that they want.
Right.
Not that they want. You can't complete the answer. You give them too many maybes.
Yes.
You give them too many we'll sees. You give them too many I don't know. Like, that's exasperating. Even as an adult, I don't want to hear that from people all the time. So being let your yes be yes and your no be no, let that be even more sturdy once they become teenagers.
Yeah.
And like you said, when you're praying differently as a teenager, because they're not, once they become believers, they're not under your umbrella anymore.
No.
They have their own umbrella now, and they have to answer to God on their own, and
it's scary.
You're out of it. Yeah, you're totally out of it. You don't have any, control, yes, but you don't have any say before,
right.
I'm not going to answer for you before the Lord for this now.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And in one way it's freeing, but in the other way it's scary. Yeah.
I just told Sage and Sai the other day. They were with me, and I think one of them said, "Aren't you going to say something to them for this?" And I said, "I could." And I said, "Or you guys can choose to get along and love and honor each other because both of you are accountable to God for what you said and how you're treating each other." And they both were quiet. And I think the more that they can hear certain things like that, it's good because they're at the age where they will remember. Like they will remember the things that we say and how we responded to situations. And if we have had a setup in our life with the teenagers to a certain point, then there's not going to be so much maybes and we'll sees anyways. That's what I think. You can establish certain things now. There was a couple people I talked to this week. One, she was saying that there's things we've established now that we're strong believers for our younger ones that we didn't do so much for our older ones, and it's tough. Right. And I said, I get that, but now you can tell the older ones we have these stronger convictions now because we're walking with God stronger. So that would make a difference. But if you have done the hard work of all of these, then it won't be a question of your kids asking if they can go to a certain party when they're a teenager. Or if, like, I took Sage to a party on Saturday, her friend's graduation / 18th birthday party. I knew this girl, but I didn't know the parents. So Matt was like, you have to walk her in, meet the parents. And some parents don't do things like that. But for our kids, that's not weird because we've done that. They don't go a lot of places that we don't know the parents. But there's some kids that their kids do. Right. So it might be weird if they just started doing that. But what have you done throughout this point where it's not so odd if you now are like, oh, yeah, we're not watching rated R movies. Well, did you allow rated R movies throughout this whole time? But establish it from the beginning. So it's not such an odd thing or such a shock. Yes. Like if there's a movie Sage may have asked to go to, I say Sage because Sebastian now he's making some of these decisions that I don't know always what he does. Yes. But I will say no, and it's you know why. Like I'll just tell her you know why. And then she doesn't ask again because she does know why. She can't see that, with friends that have asked her. Yeah. But then their life is speaking into other kids' lives. I tell her, I said, think of something else. They can come over here. You guys can play basketball. You can go bowling. But there's other things you can do besides supporting that certain movie. Yeah. Another thing that I remember growing up with that kind of exasperated me as a kid
was that we would start watching something on TV. Then we didn't have, all the cool ways to find out about it before it came on TV, or a movie before it came out. We didn't have all that. But it was exasperating to start something, and then my parents turned it off because it's got something objectionable. And I understand as a parent now. I know, I get it. However, now I'm kind of changing that with my kids to where we either look it up together. Mm-hmm. Are we going to see this? What's in it? And we're spoilers. We have to.
Yes. Oh yeah.
We just have to. Mm-hmm. And we kind of enjoy it. Okay, we just spoiled it, but we still want to see it. We want to see the action, or we want to see this.
Yes.
But I try hard not to turn it off once it starts, because I want to wait for my kids' faces to turn around to me and be like,
yeah, like, what are we watching?
Are we going to keep this on? And they do. Yeah. It's awesome to see that. So they're getting a discerning heart. They're starting to see what they want in their own lives and how they want that to play out.
Is this going to help them or hinder their walk with God? Mm-hmm. by allowing this? Mm-hmm. Teenage years are also the years that, even though some of it might seem fun, yes, it will be fun. There'll be certain times, like we went to the beach Sunday after church. I don't recommend that on a Sunday up here, because after we left church, there was traffic down. Yep. It was tough to find a parking space, but I let God in all of it. Like always, we prayed, found a parking space. We went to Ruby's that we've gone there for years. There was no wait. It was a fun day, like just a fun day with the kids, having all of them come, and it was a great memory. So those are fun things, but it's also the hard work of teaching them certain things, like really letting them fail in certain ways because you've told them over and over. Like, I can't tell you how many times we may have gone somewhere and I've said, pack your water. And then they want mine because they didn't pack their water. And I'm thinking, I told you. And so, of course, I may give them some of mine, but I just let them know, like, why didn't you have everything? I've already told you. Right. And then other things, like, Matt's made the boys go out there when he's unclog the sinks. He's trying to teach them. Change the oil. Wendy's husband's super handy, so he's involved his kids to do these certain things. We've talked about that before. Sage is not as drawn to cooking as Sebastian's fiance, but she does have an interest. It's just not natural that she wants to all the time. But I've still involved her, like, hey, we're making this banana bread, we're making these cupcakes, we're making whatever it is. So she wants to make us breakfast when she comes back from her trip, and I'm like, good, you're doing all of it. She loves making enchiladas for some reason, so she's involved in that. Silas, having him with me the last couple of years, it would be, I tell him, go make our lunches, do this. Like, he's wanted to set up like a whole sandwich bar. Mm-hmm. But whatever that looks like, you're teaching them these skills that would be for their life. And then also that time management, where we've said before, where now Sage is a little like me. She likes to do a lot of things. But she will come to me, should I do this or whatever? And I'll say, you have to think about that, with your schedule. And so they're learning all of that based off of you. Like, if you're the type of parent that your schedule is jam-packed and there's no margin, those are the type of kids you're producing. Mm-hmm. And so this is the age that you're teaching them. Like, okay, if you do have a job where you work, but then now you're starting to do a sport or you're doing these different things, what is it going to look like for your work schedule? Yep. So it's crucial at this age, like what you are teaching them. Because again, you're a model, but you also, I'm not the best at sewing. That's another thing I want to hone in on and get better. But the last time when I was sewing a bunch of stuff for Matt, like some of his shorts and some of his buttons, I made Sage sit there next to me so she would get better at it too. Because now she's at that age where she doesn't, at 8, you might just be like, meh. But at her age, I'm like, you have to learn this. Mm-hmm. And whether you get good at it or not, it's a skill that you can have for your whole life.
Our kids graduate, or they're out of our house. Yeah. However that happens. So now what? Because I don't have that yet.
Well, I've researched this. I've talked to people. There's plenty of people that I've had in my life and that I've mentored that have adult children. I was the director of the women's Bible study at our old church. I had a lot of ladies that came to Bible study, about 250, but some of them would come to me, different situations, like maybe their kids had stopped going to church or they moved and they were trying to figure out how to connect with them with that distance. At that time, I wasn't going through the same thing, but I was there for them in these different ways, and I would pray for them, and I would see God work and move in these situations, and I've just always been a firm believer that you're never done. You're never done. Until Jesus comes back or you breathe your last breath, you're not done. Like, your life matters. You're still here to serve a purpose. And if you are a Bible-believing Christian, you have a godly purpose to point other people to Jesus. And so why would that stop just because your kids are older? It doesn't at all. So here's where your role switches. And believe me, I had somewhat of a tough time with this as my oldest turned 18 and now is almost 19. So I'm not talking from some place of being perfect. I have asked God and my son to give me grace plenty of times. I have said, this is my first time doing this, I'm sorry. But it's letting go when you don't want to. That's a huge part of parenting adult children. And when I say you don't want to, it's hard. Like, I don't want to get emotional saying this, and I'm not going to, even though I could. But man, like, the pull on your heart when it almost seems like they're like attached to you, and then you can physically feel like each of those attachments in those different areas like be snipped, is like, it's gut wrenching. And it's a little hard for you to feel like useful. And there's a while that I will definitely admit that the enemy attacked me, where like, he does not need you at all. Like, you're not needed. And that's a lie. That's a lie from the enemy. So I pray every day for my son. I pray for other teens that Matt and I've been able to pour into. I have adult now nieces and nephews. I pray for them. And then I see in these different ways from moms that I have that their kids are older, ways that kids come back. Because there's this neat maturity that I've seen in my oldest, where now, like, he has a pretty crazy schedule with 2 jobs and, you know, a fiance and classes he's taken online, but he'll tell me what nights him and his fiance will be here for dinner. And I think that's super mature, really. And so I don't have to like write down his schedule like I did before, because I wanted to know like what day he was working or things like that. And so now those nights will be a little different dinner because there'll be 6 of us. And then I do feel like we're a sounding board. And that's to this age till forever. I have parents that are, you know, their kids are older in their 20s or 30s. Yeah. And that does not mean they're going to listen to everything you say. That doesn't mean that you shut your mouth. And if they ask you, you can tell them. Right. And there's also been some neat things I've seen lately where he's wanted to know where certain things are in the Bible because of conversations he's had with people or at work. And Matt and I've loved that, because whether we've said those things along the years and maybe he didn't grasp it right then, he's coming to us because of what's been built in like all those years. And then it's also like, I'm in my 40s and I'm still so blessed to have both my parents. Mm-hmm. And right now my mom has the kids, take them on a little trip. To me, that's huge, because they are still good and intentional grandparents to my kids. So right now it might seem to you that you're a parent to an adult child or not child, but like a young adult, a teenager that's older, a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, and they don't always seem to care what you have to say, and maybe they don't want to hang out with you all the time. But you're going to be the parent or the grandparent of their children someday. Mm-hmm. And most young adults, a young married couple want their babies, their kids, to be around their grandparents. And if you establish that good memories now, those seasons, fun holidays, have your house be a great and peaceful environment, then they're going to want their kids to be around you. You build spiritually into your children, then what a gift to be able to build that spiritually into your grandchildren. Yeah. So those are things I see with this age. Sometimes I've said things and I thought, oh, I shouldn't have said that. And I've had to ask for forgiveness. Sometimes it's been a look. I have to try not to have a shocked face. But then it's also been like really good things where I feel like God's like telling me, like, do you see this? And I'm like, I do see it. Like, thank you. Mm-hmm. So I'm telling him thank you for these different things that to Matt and I may have felt like a heartbreak at different times, is not. This is how God created it to be. Mm-hmm. You are raising, when your kids are that elementary age we talked about, you are raising future adults. Right. So Matt and I had a little tough couple months when our oldest got about 18. Well, it was because Matt had to find new ways to connect with him, because they always played baseball. Like, they always practiced in the yard. They were always hitting in the cage and all these things. And then it was like, it had to shift how Matt did that connecting, because he had a job and a girlfriend and these different things. So It was different. And it is different. All of it will change.
Different.
But you're not ever done. Like those seasons are just going to grow into these richer seasons. Oh, I also said invite. I've known different families that like they don't have that connection time of even just like, let's go to the park and have a picnic. Hey, I got tickets. Do you want to come? Or family dinner. And they don't do those things.
Yeah.
So they wonder why there's not closeness in their family. So even if your adult children don't come, nope, we're going with our friends. Nope, we're going to the river. Nope, we have this going on. Nope, we're having a dinner party at our house. Okay, who cares? Just keep inviting them.
They know they're included.
Yes, and you just don't know when that shift might happen, where they're like, oh, you had a family birthday party without me, or did a special dinner like without inviting us to the barbecue. Oh, we didn't know you'd want to come.
Yeah.
And so just keep doing it. You can't even take it personally at this age. You just know that you're needed. Like, my mom was very intentional about making plans with the kids, but I also will reciprocate that and be like, hey, I'm going to be down here this day. I want to visit you guys, or let's do this. And I think that's how it should be at any age. Like at any age, it says that your children are a crown. Well, if they're a crown, then they should be shining. Well, your kids are shining if you have been an example to that their whole life of what it means to truly love the way that Christ designed you to.
Amen.
Yeah, my scripture that I love is, he who has a clean hands and a pure heart, who does not lift his soul to an idol or swear by what is false, he will receive a blessing from the Lord and vindication from God our Savior. Such is the generation of those who seek him. Psalm 24, 4-6. Please mark that in your Bible. Psalm 24, 4-6. Are you trying to raise a generation who seek God? You will truly see a difference in your life, in your kids, in your family, at any stage, if that is you. Thank you for tuning in. We truly appreciate it. Have a blessed day.
All right, we'll see you later. Bye.